Hey friends, today we're making Christmas cards. I'm so happy that you joined me, so let's go. So for the first part, I'm sectioning my watercolor paper in 12 parts, so that's 4 on the long side and 3 on the short side. And those are going to be the small pictures I'm gluing onto my cards. I'm marking everything with pencils so that I can see where I have to put my washi tape later. Then I put my washi tape onto the lines and started with the first small picture. Here I'm using the wet on wet technique for watercolors, and sorry for the bad autofocus, I still need to learn how to use my camera properly. Here I'm intending to draw a starry sky with an aurora, and for that I'm going in with a green and a yellow to make the aurora itself, and just letting the paint flow a little bit with the water on the paper. Then I'm getting a little bit darker, using a darker green at the outside of the aurora where it fades into the dark sky. And after that I'm using a darker blue to fade this into the black I use later. This is actually a really easy process. The only thing you have to have is the watercolor paper, and you can really not do so much wrong at this point because there is no right or wrong when you look at the sky, and the mistakes will look intended. So don't bother too much, just go in and fade those parts a little. As you can see, I went a little bit too far with the black at the middle and then just used a little bit of water to blend it again and went in with the lighter green again. Here I made a cut because it's the exact same process as you saw before. I just changed the alignment of the aurora but went in with the exact same colors and the exact same process and made 3 of those little paintings. For this one I wanted to make a little bit more darker parts so that if I go in with the white paint later to make stars, they will pop a little bit more. This process is actually quite fast. I think these pictures took me under 1 or 2 hours, I'm not sure anymore. The only thing that really needs a little bit of time is letting the paintings dry. And my first 6 paintings were dry after I finished my last 12 paintings, so I really don't think that should bother you. But if it does, keep in mind that you still have to write your cards. If you finish your paintings and everything and then start writing your cards, I will ensure you that those are dry when you finish. You can test if your watercolors are dry with pressing the back of your hand on your painting, and if it feels cold, it's still not dry. But if it feels like room temperature, you're ready to go. As you can see here, I'm going with just one aurora this time, and I wanted it to look like it's kind of wavy, and I tried to do that with putting the blue lines a little bit more into the green one. I'm not sure if I managed to get this impression, but I'm still fine with it. I just still like my pictures, so yeah. And I really think that if you gift someone a self-made card, they really will appreciate it. And to be honest, if they don't, go ahead, buy a card, print the inlay, and just change the names and hand them this. They will be fine if they don't appreciate what you did for them. So for the second row I intended to do sparklers because I really think they feel very festive. But then later I actually think they turned out like fireworks, and to be honest, I'm really okay with that. So I actually intended to add a handle to my sparklers, but yeah, then I decided against it. As you can see here, I'm using the wet on wet technique too. I first went in with yellow and then added orange, red, pink and purple. After I finished that, I went in with blue to make the dark sky behind it, And here you can see me to add a little bit of red on top of it, because I wanted it to feel more atmospheric. I really think I should have left it that way, because later I go in with a darker color and that makes it kinda muddy, but yeah, that's fine. If you really want to have a high-end picture like that, I would suggest to make a pause right here before you go in with the darker colors and let the whole picture dry, but we're actually going for a fast picture, so I didn't want to wait that long and just went in with that. I'm going in with the same process here. I really enjoyed seeing the color spread from the middle of the painting and just going outwards when I laid down the first parts, and I really used this random spreading for inspiration where the light parts and the dark parts had to go. So for those 3 paintings I really suggest just going with the flow, taking the colors you want and just go in with it. Please feel free to upscale these paintings if you want to. You could also use this technique and paint some galaxies or something like that. I think that would really look cool too. For that I would actually go in with a swirl, make that one your preferred color and then just add stars later. As you can see, I'm going in again with some reds just because I wanted the outsides to look a little bit more violet, just to have some more color variation at the outside of the painting. I think I actually kinda overdid it here because I liked the first one better, because the second one is a little bit too dark for my liking, but yeah, you can see that I'm going in with a paper towel to lift a little bit of paint and then going over those parts with the lighter colors, because if you go in with a paper towel to lift some paint, it actually gets muddy really fast, so I went in with a vibrant color to kinda, yeah, hide my mistakes. I really hope you appreciate the color spreading at the third one too, because that was really fun. And as you can see, I'm going in with a little bit more vibrant colors this time. I'm going in with a violet too, because I wanted to kind of change it up a little bit. And it would totally be fine if you don't add the dark spots or the dark parts. I think that would also look really nice, and you can also pretend that those are fireworks, because it can also be a color firework. And if you want to do a birthday card or something, you could really just go in with this wet on wet technique, take the colors you like the most, make something like that, and just wait for it to dry, and then letter happy birthday or something on it with a black pencil, and that would look really nice, I think. Is it only me, or do you also feel that way, that if you go in with a wet on wet technique, that all you do looks kind of professional, like you're knowing what you do, and what you're really doing is just going with the flow, taking what the color brings to you and then just putting on some really nice colors and mixing them together. No offense to people who really know what they do, because yeah, I know wet on wet technique can be quite challenging, but yeah, you can get really nice things without knowing what you're doing. For the next 3 paintings I wanted to make a wreath, just to doodle a little bit, and for this one you should actually have a pointy brush. For the other ones that didn't really matter, because yeah, you can just put the colors in and that you don't see what brush you used. But if you don't have a pointy brush, you can also use markers or anything like that, because doodling you can really do with anything. You could also just use ink, and that would also look really cool. And I really think if you don't have time and you have school or something, just take the paper with you, and if you're bored, just doodle something and then put that on your card later. We all know how school can be sometimes, so use your time wisely. Doodle. For this one I actually used really cheap watercolors, and you really don't need any fancy supplies for this. I noticed that if you're using a pointier brush, you can get more paint onto your brush, and so the color seems more saturated, but please don't feel like you have to use fancy supplies to make something like this. The watercolors I used I actually got at the beginning of high school, and I have them still. I'm now at university and they still do their job quite well. I didn't get any fancy stuff or something. Those are the watercolors you saw in the beginning, and I just went to my local store and got the cheapest. Oh, okay, they are not the cheapest ones because they have like this double layers where you have double the colors, but I actually just mixed my own colors for this. So I just used a light green and then went in with the black color to just darken it a little bit to get this pine tree color. And I didn't put that much thought into how I would assemble those wreaths. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I'm not sure. Please forgive me. Yeah, I just went with the flow and just put everything where there was space, to be honest. And again, you really don't have to put pressure on yourself for doing those, because trees and nature stuff is organic. If you do something weird, it's the plant's fault, you know? It grew that way and no one has the right to shame it for that. And if it's looking really weird, it's a Christmas magic plant. Yes, but back to my painting. I actually just alternated between the thickness of my leaves. Yes, that's how it's called. And then I just added some holly berries in between. Then I added some branches to go a little bit out of the circle to look a little bit more organic. And after adding some shadows to the holly berries, I move on to my third painting in that row. For that one, I actually decided to make the holly berries a little bit bigger, I mean much bigger. Just to make them pop a little bit more, and then add the branches in the same style I did before. With those doodles you can really just go and have fun. Don't think too much about what it will look like or what you have to do, because sometimes we just need a pause from the stressful all-day life. And I know if you're watching this video, you're probably doing those cards last minute, but you're doing them anyway, so enjoy the process and enjoy the time you're doing it, because you can feel stressed while doing this, or you can just sit down and enjoy the time, maybe light a candle and drink a tea while you do that. Because yes, those cards are made really fast, but they're not made faster if you feel stressed while you do it. So take a breather. Make your cards, just enjoy the process, and maybe you can just use that to be more down to earth when you go out in your all-day life and struggle to find the last Christmas present, or just are stressed because you have to prepare dinner for tomorrow. And yeah, maybe you can use a little bit of that calm and take that into your next day. You could also share that moment with someone, maybe invite a friend over or enslave your partner to doodle with you. Maybe you can make him do this with you when you watch a video while you do that or something, and then you can enjoy a nice evening together before meeting all your family. As you can see, I changed the colors up a little bit with that third one. And now the third row is finished and we can go over to the fourth row. For the fourth row, I just intended to do an easy landscape that looks a little bit of wintry, because yeah, we don't have snow here. Actually, I have to tell you, in the beginning of December, it snowed here like for 2 days, and the snow was on the ground, not melting away and everything, and I was like, oh my god, this year is the year, you know? This year is the year where we can actually finally experience a white Christmas again. And then after 3 days, the snow began to get a little bit muddy, and everything is getting grey and greasy and ew. And yes, now I'm sitting here feeling like I'm living in a swamp, and the weather being greasy and everything, and I don't want to go outside because it's, you know, when it's cold enough to snow, it's like cold, but not that cold that you feel like it's just disgusting to go outside. It's just a clean cold, but now it feels like a wet cold. It's greasy, and if you step outside, it feels like the cold crawls up your back, and oh, yeah, that's all I can say. So, to eliminate that feeling, I actually wanted to incorporate that feeling of a really clean, cold winter day in my painting, and therefore I just went in with the silver paint I had. Yeah, it actually has some glitter particles in it. That's very fancy. It's just not that opaque, but yeah, for snow that's fine. Then I used the green I mixed before for the doodles of the wreath. Yeah, that's called like... I just pretend that's right. And scribbled in those trees. Therefore I just went in with a straight line for the guiding and for the stem, I think. And then after that I scribbled in the branches, and for that I was just very loose. You can go in with whatever shape you want to. You just have to make the lower branches go out wider so you get this nice triangle shape. For the first painting I went in with this crisp blue sky, just because I kind of associate those crisp cold winter days with that blue sky. And for the second painting I actually wanted to go in with a sunset, just to add some color again, and then I went in with the same colors I used for the sunset on the snow, just to add a little bit of color and to let it seem like it's reflecting the sunset. I actually really like the sunset like it is now, but now I'm going in with some clouds, and I would really recommend you don't do that. Because the red ones kind of look fine, and you can see that those are clouds, and now I'm going in with the shadows of the clouds and they are just too dark, and I actually thought I could fix it later with going in with my white Posca pen, but yeah, I couldn't. I didn't. So yeah, now I have those dark blobs in my sky, and I think they don't look awful, but I liked it better before, so if you like them, use them, go in with the clouds, do whatever you want, but I would rather take them out and magic them into cotton candy or something. Yes, so I learned from my mistakes. I went in with the third painting with the exact same process as in the two before, and as you can see, I actually changed up the colors for the trees behind because they look more bluish in the background. That gives your drawing a little bit of depth. And to avoid having to go around the trees with my sky color, I actually always made my snow that high that the sky isn't touching the trees. That makes your coloring process much easier. And as you can see here, I went in with the crisp blue again to make the sky blue, and then I went in with the Posca pen to add the stars. And as I said in the beginning, my paintings were actually dry. I just noticed that my Posca pen was kinda struggling with the watercolor beneath and was not lifting the paint, but it was not that easy to paint on it. You can see that later when I change up the fireworks. And yes, you can totally go in with white acrylic paint or something and just put paper on the other paintings you just don't want to spray on, and then tap on your brush and make those tiny dots. You probably have seen that before. The only reason I didn't do that was because I was really lazy. I didn't want to tape my desk or my other paintings off, so I just went in with my white Posca. It could be that the Posca is faster with drawing, but making those dots was kind of tedious. If you have the possibility to just save your desk and your painting from getting all white, do that and just use the tapping method. Yeah, Don't be lazy like me, it's probably faster. As you can see, I'm going in with the fireworks now. For that I'm adding in some stars and making them feather out a little bit more, and then connecting those to the point in the middle where the firework is exploding, so that it looks like it's exploding in the middle of that and just going outwards from there. You can use the painting underneath to act as a guideline, so just put the stars where the part is lighter and just go with the flow. If you're wondering why I just draw on my washi tape, sometimes my pen is actually kind of dry, and it's probably because of the watercolor underneath. I have to look out for that, and yeah, and I'm just drawing on the washi tape to make the ink run a little bit better. I use the exact same method on the third painting. I'm going in with my white pen, but this time I had 4 dots that I used for making really big explosions, I think, and then I'm adding smaller ones closer to the center. After finishing this and then also retouching the other paintings a little bit, I added some highlights on my holly berries, just to make them look a little bit glowy and to make them look like they've been touched by light. And now, last but not least, I'm adding a little bit of snow to my paintings at the bottom to make them more atmospheric and feel like they're becoming alive. And that finishes up our paintings. I hope you like them, and now you can enjoy some tape peeling. Yes, now that our paintings are finished, you just have to cut them out and then you can glue them on cards. I actually prepared those cards off screen. Obviously they didn't fall from the sky, so I just took normal sized cardboard and just sliced those into 2 equal parts and then just folded those into halves. But you can also just use normal paper for that, I think. After that, I went in with my marker and just lettered Merry Christmas on all of them. If you're using lighter cards, you can totally go in with a black pen or something that would look really nice too. And yeah, just make some stars and then everything looks fine. Stars make everything look better, that's true. And with that, you are finished with your cards. You can... But I also cut white paper and made some inlays, so I just made them slightly smaller than the cards themselves, and then they're just not looking out when you close the card, so that looks fine. And then you have a white paper to write on. That's really nice, but it's totally fine to just write it to them as they are. I really hope you liked this video. Please consider subscribing and see you next time. Bye!